So you have explored a lot of medias that are conventional, unconventional, things that could help you, might not help you, that people would say you're ridiculous, you're sending mail, it's 2013, you're sending mail, it's 2020, that would never work. Actually, it does. And coming soon is a book.
It is.
I know you talked about this a little bit. It's on the topic of the first $1 million that your company made, which is the topic of this show, really, which is the title of the show, which is the Fervent Four, which is in direct thought of it takes. The data point is there's 4% of businesses. Only 4% of businesses make it to the $1 million annual mark each and every year.
Yep.
And so the Fervent Four is based off of that. So the 4 from that is based off of you. The the fervent part was from Tim, and the is me, because you just add the at the beginning of everything, because Facebook used to have. I brought it back from Facebook, basically. I was like, Facebook, bring back the
Facebook, yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Right?
Yeah.
Makes sense to all of us. So I got a copy right here. I'm reading through it. I'm probably somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 complete. I've lived through a lot of this journey with you, which is interesting. And so it's very focused on getting to that first $1 million mark. My question is, why a book now? Why is this relevant? Why is this the next chapter for Erik J. Olson to get a book out? Why is a book something that is relevant to you as something that you want to do and that people should read?
Yeah. So I have a copy as well. $1 Million Journey, which the genesis is I was sitting through a learning event with a group called the Entrepreneurs Organization, and in order to get into that group, you have to be a founding member or own or run a company that does $1 million in revenue a year. And it was a goal of mine to bring in $1 million because, well, it just sounds cool. Now, just because you bring in $1 million in revenue does not mean that you bring home $1 million. So let's be clear about that. That's top line revenue minus a ton of expenses, and then whatever's left over is profit. Some companies, actually a lot of companies, especially now in coronavirus days, don't make a profit, right? So you could have a $1 million, $10 million or more company where you're hemorrhaging money. So anyways, what I learned was that only 4%, like Zach was saying, actually get to that level. And that the stat when it was thrown out was, hey, you did a good job. You got to top 4%. You're $1 million. But what I kind of heard was, well, there's 96% of businesses and business owners that haven't made it there, that are probably struggling to get there, or unfortunately die trying. Like, of course, there's people who don't want to achieve that level, or they don't want to grow their company for whatever reason. They're out there, but a lot of times I think that's kind of an excuse. Of course, you want to have a big company, you want to have a big operation, you want to make your mark in the world. So what I realized was that there's 96% of the people that struggle, just like are struggling like I struggled. It took me 8 years. Right. So in the very beginning of this show, Tim asked, like, how long was that, Erik, when you sent out, like when you sent me that flyer? That was 7 years ago. But, time, it takes a long time to get these things up and running. It took me 8 years after I first started to go into business for myself as a freelancer to build up to $1 million. That was 3 years ago where I crossed that threshold. 8 years of just nonstop, like we've talked about today, nonstop problems and problem solving, questioning everything, and repeat that process. And it was just a ton of work. And when I talk to newer entrepreneurs, they often ask me a lot of the same questions, like, how is it you guys like get paid up front? What was it like hiring your first employee? like just lots of the same kinds of questions. And so I'm very happy, and it's a passion of mine to answer those questions and kind of help people on that path, because I really do believe it's a path that we're all on. And it just so happens that some people are ahead of you on that path and some people are behind you.
Yep.
But if I could help by saying, hey, look, here's an experience that I went through, and here's the lessons learned, and someone reads that and they can, instead of taking one step ahead like they would normally over the course of a year, they could take 3 steps ahead. Like I would love that. That's the goal of the book, is to just take that 8-year timeline and compress it for people. Because I know if like poof, like Array Digital was gone and I started all over again, or if I started another business, we'd hit that $1 million mark much quicker than 8 years. It wouldn't take 8 years. It'd probably take 2 to 3 years. I know that's the case. As a matter of fact, I really want to prove that. But I know that I can help people just by sharing those experiences. And, it's interesting, Zach, you probably went through this, like when you decided to write Anomaly, which again, fantastic book. I recommend getting that, anyone who's watching. But it kind of makes you question, like, who am I? Who am I to have an airplane on the cover of a book with my name, right? Who am I? Like,
in all caps too.
Yeah, but you really question, like, who do I think I am to do? Like, well, you know what? We all have experiences, and there's people that are way farther ahead on the path than you are. And if you write a book or you share experience, they don't need you, right? But think about the people that just because of timing, frankly, or not having exposure to your learning or whatever, they're behind you, right? They want this help. So who are you to do this? We all are. Like, all of us should be sharing the knowledge that we get by going through this path.
Yeah.